When it was announced that a women's sports bar was opening in Benson, I was excited because I thought that mission sounded really cool. I hadn't really heard a lot about it, although as I've researched now, it's a growing trend in America. Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and when it was announced that a women's sports bar was opening in Benson, I was excited because I thought that mission sounded really cool. I hadn't really heard a lot about it, although as I've researched now, it's a growing trend in America. But I gotta be honest, I wasn't super jazzed about the food. I was like, oh, another sports bar? Like, okay. I mean, I'll definitely check it out because I think it sounds cool, but I don't know, how excited I am to eat there. But as soon as I tasted the dishes coming out of this kitchen, I was like, this is not standard sports bar food. People need to come check this out, and I need to meet the person behind this. That is Chef Kristen Pyle. She is my guest on the podcast today. She's a chef of Set the Bar. Kristen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about food today, but I think when we start with Set the Bar, we need to talk about the mission first of why it opened. Owner Molly Hike was the one who really spearheaded this. This was something that she had in her mind and really pushed for years. When you were first hearing about this, how did she sell the mission to you, and what made this an attractive opportunity for you?
Yeah, so she didn't have to sell me on anything. The second I heard we were getting a women's sports bar, I was excited. And I didn't necessarily want to work there. When I heard about it, it was just like, great, now I don't have to pay for all these apps to watch soccer, basketball, like all the sports that are hard to find, especially in the women's sports world. So I was already a fan when I heard about Set the Bar opening. I think just having Nebraska volleyball in general is going to keep that place afloat forever. I mean, there are fans that are showing up and packing out 170 seats every single game.
Holy smokes.
So even with just that, we're fine. So we're bringing in, basketball, softball. We have rugby. We have indoor women's soccer now, whether it's like Omaha and Nebraska in general, the sports for women's world it's growing nonstop. So having that bar to watch those games, it's very important, not only to the athletes, but to the fans and the families that are trying to watch those and like not being able to attend. So it's super important to have something like that. And especially in Benson, it's already a very inclusive kind of strip in Omaha where everybody is welcome. So I think Molly intentionally was trying to get it into Benson because it already fits the vibe of Benson.
And you're talking about that inclusivity. I loved getting to meet Molly and talk to her, and things that I didn't even notice about the restaurant at first when she started describing different areas of it, like all the TVs are kind of in one place. Mm-hmm. So everyone is kind of facing the same direction. You're all like watching together. Yeah. Like the booths and tables are a little bit bigger. You're not going to find a two-top in there because groups are encouraged to go together, or maybe even sit with some strangers and watch a game. And the bar is counter height for like women. Like all that is just all those seemingly minor details come together to create this space that before we even get to the food, it's a place that you want to be in and you want to spend time with people there together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Molly was very detailed in every single thing that she did for the bar. I mean, there's more women's restrooms. The seats you sit in are super padded and comfortable. It's not like you're sitting at a high top, standard bar chair. She put a lot of thought into how everything works so that when you are there, you're enjoying your time and you don't really feel like you're in a sports bar. Like you look at the TVs, yes, sports are playing, but it's the nicest sports bar I've ever been in.
I second that, yes.
Yeah, I mean, and you can look around at other sports bars, the women's sports bars around the nation. A lot of them are like kind of divey, which is kind of how a normal sports bar operates. But she had this idea that it was going to be elevated. Everything we do is elevated. And you take one look around, you're like, are we in the right place? Yeah, this is Set the Bar.
So, okay, Set the Bar is, we've mentioned a couple times, it's located in Benson off 62nd and Maple. It's upstairs. So, note to that.
Important.
Yeah, you got to go upstairs, but also opens up to that gorgeous patio. Like, if you want to people watch in Benson, which can be an entertaining exercise, that's the place to do it. I mentioned this is an idea that Molly had in mind for years, but the timing is really perfect now. Women's sports viewership grew by 18% in 2024, and it's projected that the total revenue from women's sports will reach $2.35 billion this year, which is up from $1.88 billion in 2024. So it's clear that there is an increased attention on women's sports. Like, people want to consume this. They want to find it. What made Molly the right leader to spearhead this mission?
I think you've met Molly, so you know that she has a strong personality, and anything that she wants to do, she will set her mind to it and make it happen. And the bar is in dedication of her late sister, who her sister was like the biggest women's sports fan that you could find. So I think, not that that really helped, but, you know, she wanted to make it a place so people like her sister could come and join and like be with friends and family, just have a great time all around.
And you mentioned, you know, selling out Nebraska volleyball games. That's something that maybe isn't surprising necessarily. People love Nebraska volleyball here, and they've been incredibly successful. But I know it's not just those games where you guys have been very crowded and very busy. What has the response from the community been in the few months that Set the Bar has been open?
I think it's been received pretty well. I mean, a lot of people, if you haven't heard of us, if you kind of just like wandered in off the street, which people do, they're like, what is this place? They're like, oh, it's a women's sports bar. Really? Yeah, come on in. You know, sit down. We have really good food, good drinks. It's a very nice vibe. So, you know, that happens all the time. And then they end up coming back. But like in sports now, like you said, it is growing so much. So you have like your Paige Beckers and your Caitlin Clarks, and people want to come watch those people. And like as sports grow, you're going to keep getting more of those girls and more of those really famous athletes that are getting the spotlight. And where are you going to watch them? It's at the bar.
Okay. We've waited too long. Let's get to the food now.
Okay.
So, like I kind of mentioned off the top, when you look at the menu, it looks like kind of standard sports bar fare. You've got a burger, you've got wings, you've got chicken sandwich, you got nachos, and all those things are things that are on every sports bar menu because we love them. It's what we expect. But you elevate them a little bit. You take them a little step above. So, when you were crafting this menu for the first time, how did it kind of come together? How did your brain assemble this thing?
So I started off just by looking at what the other women's sports bars were doing, because they're open and operational and things that are on their menu have stayed there. So I'm assuming that those items are successful to the crowd that we're also serving. So I was looking to make sure that I'm picking good ideas, but also just standard bar food that we can find a way to elevate. Molly also wanted fun things. So when you look at places around Omaha like Night Owl or Fizzy's, they're always doing like fun, creative items. And she's like, I want stuff like that. I'm like, I got you. So making sure we have those main staples, but finding a way to kind of twist them into something more fun and elevated that you're not just going to get somewhere across the street. You know, if you want that one item, you have to come back to us to get it.
So what is that balance for you? Because, I mean, like, with a sports bar, I think there's a lot of, like, when you go there, you want it to feel homey. You want it to feel welcoming. Like, when you get a plate of nachos, you know like 90% of what you're going to get, and maybe there's one or two little twists on there. What's the balance between serving that just really expected, comforting dish, but putting a little bit of an interesting twist on it? How do you walk that line?
I mean, so we make almost everything in-house. So like the nachos, we're making the cheese, we're pickling all of the onions and jalapenos. Like, it tastes really personable, and like there's a lot of love that goes into all of our food. So I think the customer receiving that nacho, first of all, it's a massive portion.
It is. It's enough for easily 6 or 7 people to share.
Right. So we're making it from scratch. for our customers, and we want it to taste better than any other nacho that you've ever had, which is going to make it special and going to make them want to come back.
I think another example is the banh mi fries, which we were kind of talking when I got a chance to come in and chat with you in the kitchen. Like, the banh mi sandwich is a fantastic Vietnamese sandwich. It's something that a lot of people in Omaha may or may not have experienced, but you do a great job of taking loaded fries, which is a concept that everyone knows, everyone understands, and everyone loves, and putting pulled pork and sauces that kind of elicit those flavor profiles of banh mi. How did you come to that decision that you were going to not just do loaded fries, because everyone does loaded fries, but it was going to be banh mi fries?
Right. So I'm going to give a shout out to the banh mi shop.
Yes, in Bellevue, yeah.
Yes. So last summer I spent a lot of time going to get banh mi's from that shop, and I just wanted to have something like that for set, but I wasn't sure that I could recreate a banh mi the way that they do it. But if I could kind of twist it and label it as banh mi fry, but then in the description simplify it so that people understand what it is. Because if I just said banh mi fry, well, some people may, but a lot of people may not know what a banh mi fry is. So when I'm putting jalapenos, spicy mayo, banh mi sauce, and pickled carrot and daikon, it's easier for them to understand when they read it that way instead of just putting banh mi loaded fry. And then they're like, yeah, I think I like all those items. Let me try it. And they get it. And again, it's a huge portion, but the flavors are so strong and pronounced, and it just works. And I was nervous about putting that on the menu because, again, just your average customer may not know what a banh mi is. So they're a little scared to order it. But when they do, it's like, oh, yes, that's amazing. I love it. And I can't wait to come back and try that again.
And hopefully it's an opportunity for education. Like,
exactly.
I hope someone, says, oh, I want fries. So, here's some fries with pulled pork and spicy mayo. I'll try those. Yeah. And then they have them and they love them. And then they're Googling and they're like, what the heck's banh mi? This is delicious. So hopefully we're getting some business for Chloe Tran and the banh mi shop out there. Burger. Everybody's got a burger. You got to put a burger on the menu. How did you make the Set the Bar burger yours?
Okay. Kind of like just going back to the banh mi, just finding things that I like that I want on the menu. I feel like we had talked about this previously, that when I would go to In-N-Out, that was like my go-to burger. And I was like, everything that's on that is so good. Like, that sauce, I feel like, is what makes that burger. I was like, I want to try to recreate that. So just trying to figure out what's in it. It's like 4 or 5 different ingredients. Super simple. And we kind of twist it to make it our own, instead of doing like copycat recipes, because that's not really cooking, and I don't want to serve stuff like that. And I knew smash burgers were and are pretty popular right now. And it's also way faster to cook, so it's more efficient on the line than, having like a half-pound puck kind of just waiting around. And then we made our fry sauce. We made our fry seasoning from scratch. So our smash burger gets some of that, and it gets the fry sauce, double cheese, and then we put caramelized onions on it. It sounds really basic, but the flavors are there, especially when it's done right, and people love it.
It is low-key, like, probably one of my favorite burgers in Omaha. And the caramelized onions, the way that you do those, I know it's like caramelized onions are not like a fancy, real out there ingredient. I don't know what you do to yours, but they just add like that perfect amount of sweetness. Very, very good. What I've loved in this conversation so far is we've already gotten shout outs to Night Owl, Fizzy's, Banh Mi Shop, and In-N-Out within the first 15 minutes. How much of your cooking, like, do you draw inspiration from your past? And like you said, not copying other businesses or other recipes, but taking inspiration from them and then making it your own.
I get a lot of inspiration. I mean, so I moved to Omaha about 8 years ago. Before I moved to Omaha, I wasn't into food the way I am now. And I'm going to give another shout out. To the Boiler Room. Like, that place
We can give as many shout outs to the Boiler Room as you want to.
Right. So that place changed my life. The first time I went there, I feel like I had some sort of seared duck. I had never had duck in my life. It was so good. and it brought, like, I feel like I was almost in tears with how good it was. And I was like, I need to find more places like that in Omaha. So I just started kind of going around to some of the finer dining places, and ended up going to be Mertz, blew me away. There's another shout out. So I want to have a place, I want Set to be a place like that where you're going to get something, you have something that's so different, but also so good that you remember it. And kind of like you with the burger, the banh mi fries, you're not going to really get anywhere else. So we're just taking inspiration from places that made a big impact on me to make items for our menu that maybe have a big impact on other people.
I think you're doing that with the items that you mentioned, and certainly with the French toast, which we're about to get to. But I got to ask you a couple other things first about the staple menu. And we talked about inclusivity, and so much of that at Set the Bar is welcoming anyone of any gender, age, sexual orientation, whatever it might be. Everybody is welcome at the table. And that includes what you do with the kitchen, because so many of your items are either vegetarian, or they have a gluten-free or vegan substitution that can be made. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That makes your job a lot harder, especially when you have to have like a normal version of a dish, and then you have to figure out how to serve that dish in a way that is very, very similar, but adhering to a vegan diet. Like that's really hard. How did you decide, we're not just going to have 2 or 3, standard vegan items or gluten-free or whatever, but we're going to make this menu really applicable to anybody who walks in here?
Yeah, so I've had, people in my past when we all went out to eat, and if they were gluten-free or if they were vegan, they always really struggled. And it just kind of feels unfair, especially when I'm in control of the menu. I want to make sure that everybody can eat, and not just if you're a vegan, I'm going to give you a salad, because that's boring to them. I want them to have like good, fun, exciting menu items that they can choose from. And especially with gluten-free people, you're not going to find a gluten-free fried chicken sandwich in a lot of places, but we have one. And so those people know that they can come back to us, and we have regulars who do come back because we have so many gluten-free options. And it's important to cater to those people and not try to like pinhole our menu to what anybody else is going to do. We want to make sure that anybody can eat there.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've got a new special thing this week. I decided I was going to source questions from the Restaurant Hoppen audience. Okay. So I might change the name of this. I don't know. But for right now, I'm calling it The Voice from the Dining Room. Okay. And this is a question from Caleb Cusick. He is awesome. He's one of the best supporters of this podcast. And he asks, when you're designing a new dish or food special, how do you balance creativity with customer expectations? Yeah. So we've talked about that a little bit already, but can you go into that a little bit more deeply?
Yeah, so we've only been open 4 months, so the menu that we have is still very new. But talking about the banh mi fries, I was unsure if that was going to go well, because if our customer base isn't adventurous, then that dish is going to fail, and I have to take it off and kind of start over. So we're putting things like that out there to see how creative we can be in the kitchen, just kind of like dipping our toes in. So the banh mi fries I have taken off. We had a banh mi when we opened. We took it off, and people were like, "Bring back the banh mi. Why did you take it off?" So the banh mi is back, as well as the banh mi fries. So I think it just kind of proves that our audience is more adventurous than we originally thought, which means that we can be more creative going forward. So we're about to do a new fall menu, and I think we're going to try to push that a little more, because I think it will be well accepted, and everything is going to taste great. Like, I'm not worried about that. It's just, are people going to buy what we're selling? And I think the answer is yes. So trying to get more creative, but not too crazy, if that makes sense.
Not putting your feet to the fire and like finalizing this menu, but can we get any teases on what might be on the fall menu? If not, that's okay.
I know that we are going to run a special next month that is a chimichurri skirt steak hatch chili mac and cheese
Whoa.
It's a mouthful, but
it sounds delicious.
yeah. So we're gonna run that for Omaha Restaurant Week, and we made some samples this past week while we were putting it together, and people were just like, when is that gonna be on the menu? I'm like, well, it's gonna be next month, and it's only gonna be for a week, and everybody's just like, no, like put that on the other menu. So that's the one thing that we've been working on. I've also been doing a banana cream, like, oh my gosh, also been doing a banana brulee cheesecake. So we'll see. That may turn into some different fruit as we get more into like the fall. But that one's pretty good too.
All right, let's talk about brunch.
Yeah.
What is your approach to brunch as a chef?
I feel like brunch is a lot of chefs' nightmares. And I've worked quite a few of those. So when I kind of built this menu, it was obviously really good food, the food that I wanted to eat. And it's not just your standard, you can have bacon, eggs, and a piece of toast, because we're elevating, we're not serving out anything that's super basic. So like the Japanese milk bread French toast, I feel like that's kind of rare to find. So just putting something together that is very simple, because we also have a super quick flip from brunch to lunch. And it's only on Sundays, and it's still fairly new because we didn't have brunch when we opened. We were kind of waiting to see what our traffic looked like until we could start brunch. But it is taking off. I think that more people should know about our brunch. If you talk to Molly, the owner, she's like, this is the best brunch in Omaha. Like, people need to come in and eat your food. And I'm like, yeah, I agree.
Yes, we are in accord on that.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can post about it as much as you want, but people need to come in and like really see it for themselves, and then tell their friends, and then just keep coming back, because I think it's an amazing brunch menu.
I would agree. It's not massive, You're not going to go in and get the cheesecake menu, Cheesecake Factory menu, but it's 5 or 6 like signature brunch items and a couple of the items you can find for lunch or dinner.
Yeah.
But they are very, very different. And we have to talk about that French toast, because most people think of French toast and it's, a couple pieces of toast laid across a plate. Maybe there's a little bit of syrup splattered over it. No, you're using that Japanese milk bread from Bluebird Bakery. Shout out
Another
to John. Yeah. And I mean, it's a good 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick.
Yeah.
And it's got like signature creme anglaise, or you've got the berry reduction on the other one. Where did that idea come from to modernize French toast in a way that I've never seen? And when you talk about like, how do we get people to come in? When they see pictures of that French toast, that's something that gets them to come in. How did you come up with that dish?
So the idea was to have something that is Instagrammable.
Mission accomplished.
That was the baseline. And I knew that I wanted to do 2 different French toast, one berry, one not savory, but just one that wasn't fruit forward. And I love coffee, and I love the Biscoff cookies. I think I had like just gotten off a flight, and I was like, maybe I can put that on a French toast somehow. So it's the coffee creme anglaise and the Biscoff cookie crumble, and then both of those French toasts both get like a whipped cream cheese, which is not super sweet. So I feel like it kind of cuts some of the sweetness that you may be getting. And then we have regular maple syrup, and then we have a citrus-infused maple syrup for the berry one. It's just, again, trying to elevate that food. And I feel like I spent a lot of time scrolling, like just different brunch restaurants, just seeing what other people are doing, just trying to get ideas. And I feel like I do that a lot when I'm trying to find new ideas, see what everybody else is doing, see what's popular, just to get new ideas for us. Yeah.
And that whipped cream cheese, that is what I love about you as a chef, is how thoughtful you are. Because I'm going to talk about the Biscoff crumble French toast. You've got the Japanese milk bread, which is a pretty mild sweetness, but it's a little bit sweet of a bread. You've got that espresso creme anglaise, which is sweet. You've got syrup on the side, which is sweet. And you've got crumbled cookies, which are sweet. There's a lot of sugar going on there. So when I actually read like the menu description for the first time, I'm not a big cream cheese person. I was like, okay, I'll try a bite with that and then probably take the rest off and, not worry about it. That is a necessary component, I feel like, to balancing that dish because it's so much sweet. And like you said, you need something to cut through all that richness and kind of bring it back to an acceptable level of sugar on your palate, where most places would just say, oh, you're ordering French toast. You expect sugar. Right. Like, we're just going to lean into it. But you were more thoughtful than that. And I don't really have a question to associate with that, but I just think that that's that just shows that extra step of intentionality where you didn't stop at expected, but you were like, what's the one last component I need so this isn't just a total sugar bomb? I think that was just so smart.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely think it needed something to cut it, and I personally don't think it even needs the maple syrup.
No, I didn't use the syrup at all.
See, I don't use it either, but I know that people are going to ask for it because you hear French toast and you assume that you're going to get syrup on the side, so we put it on the side. But I personally don't use it because I think the creme anglaise is perfect enough with everything else that you've got going on. Because, like you said, it's a lot of sweet. But I'm going to give it to you. You don't have to use it.
So you mentioned this. Well, I don't remember if you mentioned when you released it, but you released the menu on Mother's Day, the brunch menu. I need to hear this from your mouth. Molly tells me that you released this menu without even having tried it before. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, really, both menus, our normal menu plus the brunch menu, because when I was building the regular menu, our kitchen wasn't built. So I was sitting at home on my couch, writing all these things, thinking, is this going to work with this flavor profile? How is this going to look on a plate? Like, all of that stuff was done from my couch. And then as soon as the kitchen was ready, Molly's like, can we open? Molly, I haven't even made these items. But yeah, let's go ahead and open. So within a week of it being like completed, we were open to the public. So, yeah.
How nerve-wracking is that as a chef, sending out plates where you're like, I know all these components taste good, but you don't know for sure that they work together. I
trust myself. So I feel like that's just the answer that I have. I mean, I know all these things work, and, when you're studying the culinary world, you just kind of hope and pray that, what you think you want to do is actually going to work out in the end. And so far it has. And obviously, some things have been tweaked and changed on some of those menus. But yeah, Molly just thinks that is wild that I put all these things out with having tasted it. But, when you're busy, especially doing the brunch menu, we were slammed when we opened. She's like, all right, when can we start brunch? I'm like, Molly, I haven't done anything. The menu's there, but I haven't tried it. And we never did get around to trying it. We just put it out, and we got really, really, really good feedback on Mother's Day, which was, amazing. We always want good feedback. But to be fully packed on Mother's Day with a menu that we haven't tried was a little ballsy. But again, it went well, and we make little changes here and there.
It works. Yeah. I mean,
it's been working fine.
let me join with the Mother's Day crowd that loved it so much. I've had the biscuits and gravy. I've had both versions of the French toast, and I mean, I've still got the picture of the Biscoff French toast on my phone, and I just like to go back to it every once in a while and be like, this will be in my future at some point. I'm excited for that to happen again.
Yeah. Every time I plate one up, I'm like, wow, that's so nice. Hand it up.
I would love to eat this, but okay, here you go, customer. Yeah. Another thing that really impressed me about you is you are not operating in a massive kitchen.
No.
That is a very small kitchen. And actually, the first time I got a chance to hang out with you, you were telling me about how on your biscuits and gravy dish, you used to have a fried egg on that dish, and then you took it off because you just don't have the space to be able to cook eggs on a Sunday morning, especially with how many people might be ordering that. And that was actually, my wife and I, we were planning on coming to brunch. She wasn't able to come the day that I came, but she was like, there's no omelets. There's no eggs on the menu. And I was like, Sarah, I don't think you understand how small this space is. So I just want to ask you as a chef, when you're constructing a menu and you know I'm going to have limited space, how does your brain work to maximize every inch of that space and utilize components to create menu items?
So I will say, writing that menu from my couch and then getting into a finalized kitchen, a lot of stuff just didn't work. We placed our first order, we looked at our walk-in, we're like, where is this food going to go? There is no space. I mean, there is some space, but it is so minimal that, we ended up cutting some items, and going forward, we are looking at how things can be rearranged to be more efficient. We have 2 eyes, one is usable. So like you're talking about when we're doing the eggs, you only have 1 pan to do eggs, which is why we had to cut them back, because 50 eggs coming through, you're gonna be waiting forever to get those eggs. Our flat top is really small, our fries are really small. We have a great oven, but it's hard to do service out of an oven. It's just not operational. It's not ideal. So going forward, I think about, what station is it going to come off of? Where is it going to be stored? How much prep is going to go into creating those menus? So thinking back to sitting on the couch, I mean, the way I think now compared to 6-7 months ago is completely different in how I'm creating a menu. It's been a struggle, but we've been open for 4 months, so we have learned to adjust and just keep moving forward with the space that we have.
But that's life in the kitchen, right? It's all about adaptability. If you can't adapt, you're not going to make it 5 minutes working in a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even, the line cooks that we had hired and the sous chef, we didn't know where we were walking into. Like, they all assumed the kitchen was ready and, I knew what I was doing, but we all walked in at the same time. We're like, okay, this is a team effort. We have to do this together. We're all going to adapt and change and work together to make this successful. And I have a great crew that I'm really proud of. We've made a lot of, what's the word? I don't know what the word is.
Adjustments, but
they've come so far. They've grown so much in the last 4 months, from when we opened to where we are now. I mean, it's just so much faster. It's easier to get the dishes out. I mean, nobody really waits more than 10 minutes to get food at set. I mean, unless you're coming in for drag brunch where everybody orders at once, that's like really the only time that you're waiting to get food. I mean, we're creating menu items that go out quickly and taste good.
So, you kind of talked about some of the challenges and frustrations that come from really having to jumpstart the kitchen on your own. You had to figure out, how are we going to organize this walk-in? How are we going to create a line that makes sense? How are we going to cook eggs? Oh, it looks like we're not going to cook eggs. Like, you're not going into an established restaurant and learning, okay, here's how we do it, and then you get to make adjustments. You created all of that yourself. Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of difficulty and just hard decisions that you have to make when that's your role, but it also allows for some creativity. It allows for some freedom. It allows you to make adjustments and say, okay, this isn't working like we thought it was going to. How can we pivot and go in a different direction? What was the positive side of that, like, of just having a blank slate of a kitchen that you could kind of craft and mold into what you wanted it to be?
Yes, I think the biggest advantage is that, me personally, I'm very particular about anything and everything that I do. Everything has a spot. I'm so clean. I was like, great, this is my kitchen. It will always be the most pristine kitchen that you've kind of walked into. And I'll make sure that anybody that works in this kitchen will also have those same values, because I've worked in some rough kitchens and I never want set to be like those places. So just being the person that I am, I was like, great, everything's going to be exactly how I want it, and I'm going to be comfortable here. And then, anybody who walks into these doors can tell that it's coming out of a clean kitchen. But organizing that place, we're always changing things. Like, this doesn't store well here, we're going to change it here. Like, we're running out of space. How do we make room for more? Like, we want to keep making like special menus, where's this food going to go? So we're always changing where things are and how things are kind of being put together. Yeah.
Well, let's get into your background. I want to learn a little bit more about Chef Kristen.
Okay.
You mentioned you weren't really much of a foodie before you came to Omaha, and then kind of had your eyes opened by some restaurants here. Did you have any cooking background or anything growing up, or was there like some underlying like love of food that just needed to come to the surface, or what was your relationship with food growing up?
Yeah, I think there was, definitely an underlying love of food. Before I moved here, what I thought was nice food was like a shake and bake chicken and grilled asparagus and probably like some sort of like Velveeta box mac and cheese. Like to me, that was fancy because I made it at home and it felt like I was doing something. And that food is still good, but it's just so different than, how I view food now. But growing up, I went to church with my grandmother, and like all of our family, we all went to the same church. So after church, we'd all go to my grandma's house. She lived on the lake. So we would go fishing, catch whatever we could and bring it upstairs. And I would sit on the counter, like as a child, just watching my grandma like clean all these fish and then immediately fry them. And like we'd have fish fries almost every Sunday with our entire family. So I grew up doing that. And then my grandma taught my mom everything she knows about cooking. Then my mom, in turn, taught me everything she knows. So like chicken and dumplings is one of my favorite foods of all time. So every time I go home, I'm like, Mom, can you please make that for me? And, she's so happy to do it. She's happy to have me there. And I'm still watching the way she does it because it tastes so good every time. I've tried to recreate it and it's never the same. She's like, I just throw it in there. I'm like, no, you're lying. It always tastes the same and it's always so good. So just growing up with my mom and my grandmother who were always cooking home cooked meals because we didn't go out to eat. It was everything's cooked at home. So I think I just took a lot from both of them. And when I was on my own, I also didn't have the money to go out to eat. So I'm just cooking stuff at home, like cooking whatever I can. It's not great stuff, but it's still a home cooked meal. And I definitely love to cook, but it wasn't anything that I thought, hey, in 10 years, I'm going to be a head chef at a women's sports bar. Like that was never the goal. That's how it ended up. But, at that time I had other goals in life and, things changed, but I'm glad that, they all kind of shifted in this weird way to where I am now. Yeah.
When did that goal shift? When did cooking professionally first come on your radar?
Honestly, like 4 years ago. I always loved like watching cooking shows like Chopped and, things like that. Like that was what I was into. I was like, that could be fun, but I have no way to ever get there. So I was working for a printing company here in Omaha, and we were printing like pamphlets for Omaha, like the Metro Community College. And I was just like reading through, and it was talking about the culinary program. And I had learned from somebody else that they were ranked like the top 20 in the nation for their culinary program. I was like, really? Like a community college is ranked in top 20 for a culinary? And I'm like sitting here like, I hate my job. This sounds kind of cool. Should I do this? Like I thought about it and I wasn't really sure if I had like the funds to do so or if I had like to go to school and still work full time. I just like wasn't sure what that looked like as a functioning adult who had been out of the house for forever. And then COVID hit and the world was just, the world was chaos. And I was like, well, if I'm going to lose my job, I may as well go to school and pick up a part-time job and see if I can really do this. So I started, I think it was the summer of 2020, I started culinary school and it was online. So we would go to the school and they would have like bags of groceries. I would take those groceries back home and we'd hop on a Zoom call. And I learned to cook I learned to cook professionally over Zoom for about 9 months until they like came up with some ways that we could actually get back into school. We were one of the first groups that were allowed to go back to school because cooking at home is really hard. Like it's a really hands-on thing. Like you need your instructors in front of you to direct you. So they're like, all right, you guys can go back with like these very specific guidelines, and how you operate is very weird, but if you want to be here, you have to follow the rules. So we got into an actual kitchen, and it was the best college experience I've ever had. And I've been to college quite a few times. I've got multiple degrees, but this one was the most fun, and I just fell in love with food immediately, especially when I got into the kitchens at Metro. I mean, the staff is great, and I met a lot of great people, and it was just so much fun. And that kind of just it really solidified that that's what I want to do. I want to be around food. I want to make good food. So yeah, that was the start of everything.
You said you fell in love with food as soon as you got in the Metro kitchen.
Yeah.
What?
It's magical there.
What was it? What sparked that love?
I don't know. It just felt so it just felt right being there. And then one of my instructors came up to me and was just like, "Have you considered joining the culinary team?" And I was like, "No, I have not." She's like, "You have to be there at 6 a.m. and you have to practice and you have to do all these things." And I was like, "No, 6 a.m. No thanks." And then she kept bugging me. I was like, "Fine, I will go to a meeting." So I went to a meeting, and there's some really cool people there, and the people who had been on the team before were there, and they had just talked about how much they loved being on the team. And I was like, "All right, I'll come to the first practice." And I just kept trying to talk myself out of it. And then I ended up getting a spot on the table, and we ended up, getting through the whole season. Again, it was weird with COVID, so we didn't get to compete. We only got to go to nationals, and we ended up getting a silver medal that year, which is wild. It was a really fun experience, and that specifically pushed me to be so much better, because the coach that we had was just on you all the time. Everything has to be right. If you're not doing something the way it's supposed to be done, he's going to tell you, but everything was just so detailed and so meticulous. And that's kind of how I operate outside in the real world. It's just so being on team, it changed who I was as a person. It changed how I operate as a chef. And it really taught me, how I should go forward in the culinary world.
I had not known previously that you were on the culinary team, and then I was going back way through your Instagram, and I was like, "Damn, Kristen can't only make sports bar food; she can do fine dining. These are some impressive plates." For those who don't know, that I think a lot of people might be listening to this or watching this and hearing culinary team for the first time. They're like, "What? Is food a sport? What is the culinary team? How does that work?"
Yeah, so the culinary team is the culinary team of Nebraska at this point. So you're representing the entire state. You go through, some tryouts. It's, cutting vegetables, and it's a lot of very meticulous procedures on how to put food out, words you've never heard of. I mean, even going through, I'm I don't know what any of this means. And so you get assigned to a dish. When I was on it, I think it was based on your location. So we had the Midwest, and we also had to tie it into a cookbook from 200 years ago. They just make up these crazy rules that you have to do, but the food has to be, art at the end of it. And the people who are judging that are they're the best of the best, and they may tear you apart, but it just pushes you to be better. So it was me, and I think it was the very first all women's table for our culinary team. I think it was the first, if not the first in a long time. My sous chef now, who was also on the team with me, her name is Michaela. I'll give her a shout out. So it was us, and we're practicing multiple times a week at 6 a.m. to perfect these dishes. And each person on the table has their own dish. So we have pastry, fish, chicken. I think when I was on team, I had the salad, which is a watermelon salad. And if you look at the dish, you can be like, "Are you sure that's watermelon?" It just looks like art on a plate, but it indeed is watermelon at the end of the day. So just taking everything that you can from your coach, and just learning these new techniques that you've never heard of, and doing it in a very quick manner, because it is timed. You have 90 minutes on the table, which sounds like a long time, but the second you walk into that kitchen and have to start operating, that 90 minutes goes by so fast, and you cannot go over it, or they will disqualify you.
Mm-hmm. That's what amazes me, like watching those shows like Chopped. Like the appetizer round is 20 minutes, and they're making
That's nothing.
Making all these decisions and cooking dishes and everything, and I'm like, judging them and everything, and I'm like, I can barely make like box mac and cheese in 20 minutes on my own,
right.
And these people are cooking an entire dish. So yeah, even if you have 90 minutes, I'm sure that just goes by in the blink of an eye.
It's so fast. It is like one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but it was so beneficial to who I am now, and it pushed me to be so much better that I'm so glad I did it. And I had already graduated by the time I was done with my first season, and some people do go back. I mean, you don't have to be a part of Metro to join the team. Any person listening to this could go try out if they wanted to. So yeah, it made me so much more of a professional chef than, I was when I walked in.
So you spent some time in different kitchens around Omaha. I know Butterfish and V Mertz were a couple of your stops.
Yeah.
But never leading the kitchen.
Right.
That was something that hadn't been on your radar yet. How did Set the Bar come on your radar? Just how did you become aware of it at first?
I don't remember how I found out about it. It may have just been scrolling and somebody had posted that it was going to be a thing, like 6 months down the line. Don't remember where I saw that, but I was like, great. I found their email and I was like, hey, if you ever need a sous chef, let me know. Because that's what I was at the time. I was a sous chef. And my dream goal as of right now is to be the chef for the women's sports team, the United States women's national team, which is a soccer team. I would love to be their chef. So at the time I was trying to figure out how do I get there? Like what are the steps that I need to take? Do I need to leave Omaha and go to, where those teams are? I was unsure. And I had reached out to the Sports Bra, which is the very first women's sports bar, because I had learned that they were going to start opening up different locations. And so I sent them an email as well. And I said, hey, if you need a chef or, sous chef, whatever, at any of these places, let me know. Never heard back from them. But I did hear back from Molly. And she was like, we're not really looking right now, but I'll keep your resume. And when it's time, I'll reach back out to you. Remind you, I was applying for a sous chef. So it's like 3 or 4 months later, I get an email, and they're like, do you want to come in for the executive chef position? We'd love to talk to you. I was like, not really. But I thought about it, and I was like, I mean, how hard could it be, right? Like, I had been a sous chef for a couple years, and I had gotten a promotion recently where I was a little more than a sous chef, but less than an executive chef. I was like, I could probably do that, right? Like, I'll just go talk to her and kind of see what happens. So we went through a couple rounds of interviews, and the way that, she made it seem, it would be different than any other job I've had in the past. It's not your V Mertz, it's not your Butterfish, it's the very first kind of kitchen in Nebraska. There are no other, women's sports bars in the state. So if I'm the head chef, whatever I kind of create and make is kind of setting the standard for any other sports bars that kind of open up after us. And it was kind of like a big thing to know that I would be the leader of, because I've never really been the leader of any other kitchens. And, if I ever do want, to reach that dream goal, I've got to keep pushing myself. So I kept pushing Molly. I was like, do you have an answer on on that interview? And she's like, well, the kitchen's not ready. I don't really know. And then one day I just called her. I was like, do you have an answer? Because I was going to move out of the state. I was like, let me know. And then the next day, I think she got back to me and said that, the job was mine. I was like, great, guess I'm not moving.
Well, selfishly, I'm very glad that she said that.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy because there was no kitchen. And am I capable? Yes. Everything that I've ever done in my life, I push myself to the brink of exhaustion to get it done. Like, I would do anything in my power to succeed. And I think talking to Molly, like, she saw that in me. So I'm glad that she, like, kind of took that chance on me. And, you know, we are successful now. And I think that there was one point, it was after we had opened, and she was like, Kristen, I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know that you could cook. Like, yes, your resume says that you've worked at all these restaurants, but I never tasted your food, you know? I wasn't sure.
She took a chance on you.
She did take a chance, and I'm very thankful for that. And going through the process of opening Upset was wild and chaotic and stressful and maddening at times. Just everything would go wrong at the same time, and, you know, we were all just kind of pushing and adapting and making it work. So
you said something there that just I'd never really considered before, and it kind of gave me goosebumps, honestly. Like, not only is Set the Bar the first women's sports bar in Omaha, but I mean, the last I saw, there was like 10 in the country. That was the stat. It's probably closer to 15 or 20 now. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there are not very many of these in the United States.
Right.
So like, if somebody is researching women's sports bars, Set the Bar is, even if they're a couple states away, like if somebody like you is looking for inspiration, you are going to be the one that pops up on their radar. Like, you kind of get to help define this genre.
Yeah, which is crazy.
I know. I like, what is that balance in your brain between, like, holy crap, that's really terrifying, that's a lot of pressure, and oh my gosh, this is an incredible opportunity.
Yeah. So it's a lot of, oh my gosh, what am I doing? It's very imposter syndrome a lot of the time, but I see I see the success around me, and I know that everything I'm doing is working. And then I get the good feedback. You know, you've given us some great reviews. My friends and family, they come in, they rave about it. Strangers that come in are like, can I talk to the chef? And I'm like, about what? I don't think so. Like, I'm not a very people-forward person. I enjoy being in the kitchen. But when, you know, our customers come in and they want to talk to me, I'm like, oh, I'm so scared. And I go out, and then they only have good things to say. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not used to all that good feedback. I'm not good. Like, I'm just like, great, I'm going to go. I got to get back to the kitchen. So that part is kind of forcing me to be more open and more personable. Like, I feel like I'm pretty personable to people that I know, but people that I don't know, I'm very shy and reserved. So when I have to come out and talk to them, you know, they're forcing me to be just, I guess, the chef that they have in mind. But I don't know.
And look at you. Like, you're coming on a podcast today. Like, you are pushing yourself outside of your comfortable bounds, and you're doing a fantastic job at it, I must say.
Thank you. This is very nerve-wracking coming in here. I never thought I would be on a podcast ever. So this is just like...
And here you are, and you're crushing it.
Thanks.
Another part, like, that's one thing where if you're a line cook or even a sous chef, you're not having to be really that forward-facing person who might need to go out in the dining room or whatever. Another part of the job that you had to adapt to is you knew that you could cook, but leading a team, leading a kitchen, being the one who makes all the decisions, and you can't turn to somebody and say, hey, you know, like, we don't have the space to cook eggs. Well, what are we going to do? You're the one who's making that decision.
I'm looking in a mirror. What do we do? Like,
what was that like for you? How did you teach yourself to be a leader?
I mean, ever since I can remember, I mean, I say that I'm shy and reserved, but everything I do is to the best of my abilities. So in a way, like, I've always been a leader. I mean, even like when I was in sports, I was like the captain, or, you know, I'm always lead the way, but from like a very backseat driver kind of way. So I know that I was always capable of those things. I just never really had the chance. I mean, at my last job, I ran a kitchen, but it was like a cater kitchen. It wasn't, you know, a fast service sort of thing. I just hoped that I could do it. Molly saw it in me. And again, like, if I ever want, you know, to get to that dream job level, I know that I have to push myself and do things that I've never done before. So leading a kitchen, training people on how to do certain things the right way, And that includes, I have to watch the servers and I have to like teach them how to, do their job sometimes. And it's just things that I've never done before. I've just got to put my foot down and I have to be the boss, which I've never done. But it's going. And even before I got this job, I'm going to sidetrack a little bit. I said I never want to be an executive chef. It's too much work. It's too many hours. I'll never see, my friends or family. Like, it just sounds like a chaotic job. Like, yes, is there money there? Sure. And I always heard that, when I got into this career, there is no money. But if you do want it, you're going to have to give up your life for your job. So I was like, no, that doesn't sound interesting to me. That doesn't sound fun. So I was afraid to get this job because I was afraid that's what it would turn into. But when I talked to Molly, she's very adamant that you have to have a work-life balance. So get the crew that you need to make that happen. Train them so that you can take breaks and you don't have to be there every single day, every single hour. So I'm happy that I have what I have, because we have, kind of maneuvered through that crazy opening and things are settled now. And, we've been open for 4 months and it's just working. And the title the title of executive chef doesn't scare me as much now, even though it's still in my jacket. It's that imposter syndrome. Like, is this my jacket? Yes. Am I in charge? Yes. Are we sure that we know what we're doing? Yes, we do. So it's a back and forth, but it's going, and I'm proud of myself. I don't say that a lot. A lot of people say it to me, but I really am. I mean, I feel like I've got the biggest big girl job in the world right now.
Well, if you think about it, 5 years ago, that was summer of 2020. So maybe you were just starting classes at Metro online, and now you're leading a kitchen of like one of the most progressive concepts in America. Like,
it's wild.
In those 5 years, what do you think you've learned most about yourself in that time?
Definitely that I can do more than I think I'm capable of. I am, much smarter, much more put together than I really think. Like, I feel like I've always just thought lesser of myself than I actually am. And people will point that out. I'd be like, no, you're wrong. But maybe that's just some issues that I've always had. But I'm definitely capable. And anything that I do, anything I think I can do, I can do. I just need to work for it. Mm-hmm. And I know that I've always been a hard worker. This has pushed me to be the hardest I've ever worked. So just knowing that I can and I will.
And you are making it happen so far. I have so many more things that I want to talk to you about. We're running up against it on the clock, but I've got 2 questions that I'd like to ask just about every guest that I have on here, and I'm really interested to hear your answers. The first one is this. What is one thing about restaurants, kitchen life, what it's really like in the kitchen that your guests don't understand that you wish they did understand? You can go a lot of different directions with that one.
You really could. Like, my first initial thought, which may not even be an answer that anybody's expecting, is that everybody who works, at least at set, we are, at this point, one huge family. And that's how we interact constantly. And, when I go home, I miss my coworkers, which is something that I would never have said about anybody else in my past job. And, I want to hang out with them outside of work. And we really do just appreciate one another. And we all get along. We're always laughing. We're always having fun. So I think that, my first initial thought is that we are much closer than you could probably ever expect. At least it's set in my eyes.
That's awesome, and that's the culture that you've created.
Yes.
Because and not every kitchen is like that. Yeah. I've definitely seen some examples of the exact opposite. Yeah, and then
same.
to get you out of here on a positive note, what's your favorite thing about being a part of the restaurant industry?
I mean, I think just cooking in general is so much fun, and to be at this level and have the title that I do, I can just create new things whenever I want. If I want to try something new, I'm just gonna run to the store and go get it and make it that day. And it's just so fun to like really have that capability and that freedom, and trust that from Molly that I can do whatever I'm kind of thinking of in that moment. But I love set, and even if I wasn't the head chef, I would be going there, as a patron, as a customer. So I'm just glad that I'm getting, the job. Like, I'm glad that I have the job that I have, and I'm getting to be a part of it in a way that kind of literally sets the bar for, women's sports bars in the United States. I mean, it's so cool to have this job, and I feel very blessed.
From what I've tasted, you have very much earned that right to create what you want, because you are putting creative spins on things that people, they might expect to see on the menu when they go to a sports bar, but as soon as it goes in their mouth, that's where the expectations completely change, and it's just like, whoa, this is something a little bit different. So people, I mean, even if you don't have a bite of food, go to Set the Bar, because it's an awesome place. You can watch women's sports, you can have a good drink, you can meet friends. Like, it's a mission that I want to support regardless of what's coming out of the kitchen.
Yeah,
but also go just to eat, which I have done now. I mean, like, yes, you can go for a game and have an awesome time. You can go on just a random Monday night, or you can go for Sunday brunch and have an amazing brunch. The food that Kristen is putting out is spectacular. I am just so in awe of, I mean, we're talking about you guys have been open for what?
4 months.
Since March. So 4 or 5 months. To think about, this is what you've got already. What can you continue to do as a diner? That is incredibly exciting. And I've said this multiple times on social media. I'm going to say it to you now. I'm probably really embarrass you, but it needs to be said. You are a rocket ship, Kristen. I believe that. I think you are like one of Omaha's culinary talents that is just, the arrow's only going up and to the right. I thank you so much for having the courage to take this job on and to make the kitchen your own. And I thank you for giving your time and coming on the podcast today. I know this is a really busy day for you. You probably should be back in the kitchen prepping right now, and I need to let you get back there. But you took the time out to come on the podcast today, and I genuinely appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks again for having me.
Of course. Omaha, get out to Set the Bar, and thanks for eating.